and I'm really
Oh,
sad about it. And I
oh,
said,
it's horrible.
yeah, and it turns out he had cancer, and and he wasn't very old, but he was older. Horses usually pass like around 20s, in their 20s. That's a good age for them to go. And he was just right about 20, I think, when he passed. And so, gorgeous horse. He was very well known in Florida, and did the jumping and stuff.
Hmm.
So anyways, so she and this horse were really, really close. And I mean, super close, like to the point where he would come to her at night in her dreams and talk to her. And so they would have conversations. This is another way that you can communicate with your animals, is through dreams. And so anyways, so I told her, I said, hey, when he does pass, ask him to take you with him and see if he can do that, or see what he says, let you know that he's okay on the other side, through a dream. And so she goes, okay. And I said, and if you can stay with him when he passes, he'd like you to stay with him, to be there with him. And she said, okay. So she did. And then, so that night, so he passed that day, okay? And then that night, she had a dream. And when she was dreaming, so she calls me up the next day and she goes, oh my gosh. And I said, what? And she goes, oh, I had a dream. Chutney came to me. And I was like, no way, what happened? And she goes,
You're so
so,
animated. I love
oh,
it.
this is such a cool story. So anyway, so she said, Chutney was, they were in a white room. She was riding him, and she was in a white room, and there was this lady with a clipboard like off to the left, and she said she kept pulling on the rein trying to make Chutney turn because she felt like he was going to run into the wall. And and she goes and he was going so fast. And now you got to realize that this horse was one of those horses that you had to ride with like spurs and a whip just to make him go. So he was very,
That's
very
tough.
pokey.
Yeah,
So
it's not abusive, you guys, when she says that, I promise.
no, no, he was. I mean, obviously he loved her, so he definitely, it was not abusive, but it was just funny. So now she
I know
goes, I'm
what you
never
mean. You have like rubber bands for legs when you get off of that horse.
exactly, yeah, for sure. He was so cute. He was in Appaloosa. So anyway, so she said he was flying fast. She said she couldn't believe how fast he was going. She said then the dream ended, and she goes, what do you think that was about? And I said, well, if you think about it, Chutney was in another spirit. He was in his spirit body. And so they had to contain him so he just didn't fly all over heaven and run into everybody. And she goes, that's it. That's so cool. I go, yeah, see what happens next. Ask him if you can, visit with him the next day. So she goes, okay. I said, so, talk to him tonight in a dream. So anyway, so the next day she calls me again. She goes, I had another dream. And I was like, no way. And she said,
Wow.
yeah. And I said, okay, so what happened next?